ENG for you, Unit 3, Assignment 5, create your own multimedia presentation. Hi, my name is Faslur Rahman, and I am here today to talk to you about malaria. What is malaria? Malaria is a mosquito-borne disease caused by a parasite called Plasmodium. There are 5 different species of Plasmodium that can infect humans. But the most common are Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, and Plasmodium malariae. Let's move on to the next slide. How does malaria spread? Malaria is spread through the bite of an infected Anopheles mosquito. When an infected Anopheles mosquito bites a person, the parasite is injected into the person's bloodstream. The parasite then travels to the liver, where it matures and multiplies. After a few days, the parasites leave the liver and infect the red blood cell, which is known as RBC. So if you look at the picture at the right hand side, it shows the malaria transmission cycle. It is a complex process, but I will try to explain it in a simple way. The malaria transmission cycle begins with an infected mosquito bites a person. So let's consider this mosquito bites a person. Sorry for the drawing. This mosquito bites a person. The mosquito injects the malaria parasites. Let's consider this is the malaria parasites into the person's bloodstream. So the malaria parasite is here in this child's bloodstream. This parasite then travels to the liver, where it matures and multiplies. Here it matures and multiplies the parasites. After a few days, the parasites leave the liver. After a few days, the parasite leaves the liver and infect the red blood cell. So this one infects the red blood cell. So here in the red blood cell, the parasites continue to reproduce. So it is getting reproduced. So when the red blood cell bursts, so let's consider this cell is bursting. The parasites are released into the bloodstream. Let's consider this as a bloodstream. So parasites are released into the bloodstream. The parasites can then infect other red blood cells. These parasites then infect the other red blood cells. This process can continue for weeks or months, depending on the types of malaria. So that is why this is called malaria transmission cycle. This cycle continues. That is why we call it a cycle. So let's move on to the next slide. So symptoms of malaria. The symptoms of malaria typically appear 10 to 15 days after being bitten by an infected mosquito. However, the symptoms can also appear as early as 7 days or as late as 40 days after being bitten. The most common symptoms of malaria are fever, headache, chills, vomiting, muscle aches, fatigue. So if you look at this picture, we can see all our symptoms, which is fever. Here we can see fever, headache, and here it is. The third one is chills. Here chills, vomiting, muscle aches, fatigue, and also we can see nausea. So let's move on to the next slide. So complications of malaria. In some cases, malaria can lead to serious complications such as severe anemia. So if you wonder what is severe anemia, malaria can cause the body to destroy red blood cell, which can lead to anemia. So if you don't know what is anemia, I will explain briefly. Anemia is a condition where the body does not have enough healthy red blood cells to carry oxygen to the tissues. This is a very, very dangerous disease. And the second one is kidney failure. Malaria can damage the kidneys, which can lead to kidney failure. Kidney failure is a condition where the kidneys can no longer filter waste products from the blood. So we know in our primary schools also we have learned the function of the kidneys, or we can say the primary function of the kidneys is to filter waste products from the blood. So if if you have malaria, this can affect the kidney, and the kidney will be fail to do the function. The third one is liver failure. Malaria can damage the liver, which can lead to liver failure. So we know liver failure is a condition where the liver can no longer function properly. The fourth one is seizures. Malaria can cause seizures, which are episodes of uncontrolled electrical activity in the brain. The fifth one is coma. Malaria can cause coma, which is a state of unconsciousness from which the person cannot be awake. The last one is death. Malaria can be fatal, especially in children and people with weakened immune systems. So if you look at this, we can see cerebral malaria. Under cerebral malaria, we can include seizures. The second one is breathing problem. The malaria can cause breathing problem also. We discuss the organ failure. In organ failure, we discuss kidney failure, liver failure, and we discuss severe anemia, and finally low blood sugar. So who are at risk for malaria, or we can say who is at risk for malaria? Anyone who lives in or travels to areas where malaria is common is at risk of getting the disease. However, some people are at higher risk than others, including children under the age of 5. So if you look at these children are under the age of 5, and they are more likely to get malaria because their immune systems are not fully developed. The second one is pregnant women. Pregnant women are also more likely to get malaria because their immune systems are weakened during pregnancy. Third one is people with weakened immune system. So the third one is people with weakened immune system. People with weakened immune system, such as people with HIV, AIDS, or cancer, we can say, are also more likely to get malaria. Fourth one is people who have traveled to areas where malaria is common. These people may still have the parasite in their bodies. Even if they have no symptoms, they will not show any symptoms. This specific is this specific disease is called the latent malaria. If these people are bitten by an infected mosquito, they can get sick with malaria again. This is very, very dangerous. We need to make sure we are not getting this malaria again if that particular people have already got malaria before. So how can malaria be prevented? There are a number of ways to prevent malaria, including using insect repellent. Use an insect repellent that contains diethyl methacrylate or picaridine. Apply the repellent to exposed skin and clothing and reapply it according to the instruction on the label. So when choosing an insect repellent, or we can say mosquito repellent, we need to choose the lowest amount of D. The second one is we need to read the label and follow all the instruction. And the third one is we need to make sure we only apply on the exposed skin, not under clothing. These are some brands of the mosquito repellent. There are many forms of mosquito repellent, like they they are in gels, creams, sprays in the market. So let's move on to the next slide. Second method is sleeping under a mosquito net treated with insecticide. A mosquito net treated with insecticide can help prevent mosquitoes from biting you while you sleep. These mosquito nets are commonly used in South Asian countries like India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. It is very specifically used for children. This is a very safest method and the cheapest method too. Third one is taking anti-malarial medication. If you are traveling to an area where malaria is common, you may need to take anti-malarial medication. So suppose you are going to an area where malaria is common. Before going to that place, you need to make sure that you consult your doctor, and the doctor will prescribe some anti-malarial medication. So you take the medication according to his prescription, then it will be easy for you while you are traveling. Fourth one is avoiding mosquito-infested areas. If possible, avoid mosquito-infested areas such as swamps and forests. In swamps and forests, and where water is not moving, we can see mosquito breeding in that places. So we need to make sure we are not letting our children go to that place and play or roam around. Then if you must go into these areas, wear long sleeves and pants and use insect repellent. So if it is a must, you need to go to that area like forest or something related to that place. You need to make sure you are wearing a long sleeve shirt or t-shirt and pants. And also you need to use insect repellent, which is mosquito repellent. We have discussed about the repellent in the previous slides. So now we are going to discuss what is the treatment for malaria. The treatment for malaria depends on the severity of the disease. In most cases, malaria can be treated with medication. So let's assume a patient has come to a doctor with malaria. So the doctor will prescribe some oral pills. Or if he is not comfortable with the oral pills, the doctor will inject some injection to the patient. It's done with that. But however, in severe cases, hospitalization may be necessary. This is very, very rare. The most common medication used to treat malaria are, the first one is chloroquine. Chloroquine is a medication that works by attacking the parasite's ability to reproduce. It is effective against most strains of malaria, but it is becoming less effective due to the development of drug resistance. So this chloroquine is the oldest and most widely used antimalarial drugs. Mostly the doctors prescribe this drug, which is chloroquine. It is generally safe and effective, but it can cause side effects such as nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. But like I said, most of the doctors prescribe this drug, which is chloroquine. So let's move on to the second drug, doxycycline. Doxycycline is a tetracycline antibiotic that also works by attacking the parasite's ability to reproduce. This works in the same process which we discussed earlier, chloroquine. It is effective against most strains of malaria, including those that are resistant to chloroquine. So doxycycline is a new antimalarial drug that is also effective against a wide range of bacteria. It is generally well tolerated, but it can cause side effects such as photosensitivity and gastrointestinal upset, which means if the patient consumes this drug, he or she will feel a sensation in her stomach, inside her stomach. Then if she is feeling the side effect, she or he should immediately inform her doctor or physician. Then the doctor will give an alternative drug. The third one is mefloquine. Mefloquine is a medication that works by disrupting the parasite's metabolism. So we look at the first drug, chloroquine, the second drug, doxycycline. That the both drugs works by attacking the parasite's ability to reproduce. This takes a different pathway, or we can say different route. It works by disrupting the parasite's metabolism. It is effective against most strains of malaria, but it can have side effects such as nausea, vomiting, and dizziness. So this mefloquine is more expensive drug in the market, and it is also effective against a wide range of bacteria as discussed before. However, we discussed some side effects such as nausea, vomiting, and dizziness, but there are more complicated side effects such as anxiety, depression, and hallucination. Let's move on to the next slide. So, how can we help fight malaria? There are a number of ways to help fight malaria, including supporting research into new treatments and prevention methods. There is still much research that needs to be done to develop new and improved treatments and prevention methods for malaria. We can support these research by donating to organizations that are working on malaria. There are numbers of organizations working towards malaria. So donating to organizations that are working to fight malaria. There are a number of organizations that are working to fight malaria. You can donate to these organizations to help them continue their work. One of the well-known organizations is Against Malaria Foundation. So if you are willing to donate, we can donate to this organization and they will start working to fight malaria. This will be a great initiative. And raising awareness about malaria. Many people are not aware of the dangers of malaria, especially school children and high school students. You can help raise awareness about malaria by talking to your friends and family. So if we talk to our friends and family about the malaria and the symptoms and the complication of malaria, they will talk to their families and friends. This will go on. Then they will get more awareness about malaria. You can also share information about malaria on social media. Nowadays, we are always using social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and etc. And we can share these awareness things about malaria. So the people who are watching our social media platform, they will get to know about this. So if you look at this picture, the ABCD of malaria prevention: A, awareness, be aware of the risk, the incubation period, and the main symptoms. Bite prevention: avoid being bitten by the mosquito, especially between dusk and dawn. Chemoprophylaxis: take antimalarial drugs when appropriate to prevent infection. We have discussed so many antimalarial drugs in the previous slides. The diagnosis: immediately seek diagnosis and treatment if a fever develops 1 week or more after entering an area where there is malaria risk, and up to 3 months after departure. So we need to make sure we are aware of malaria's symptoms and the complications. So, conclusions. To sum it up, malaria is a serious disease that can be deadly. However, it is preventable and treatable disease. By taking steps to prevent malaria, we can help save lives. So, if you look at this picture, there are prevention methods of malaria. First one is use of mosquito nets. We have discussed it in the previous slide, especially for children. It's very, very helpful. Elimination of mosquito habitat. We need to make sure there are no mosquitoes in our backyards, in our gardens. So we need to clean all those stuff. And the third one is use mosquito repellent, especially in the evening or before going to bed. Pay special attention to the children. For babies, especially, treat clothes, wear clean clothes, know the symptoms of malaria. We have discussed so many symptoms of malaria. Wear long sleeve clothing when we are going out, when you are going for outing or something related to forest or something like that. Wear long sleeve clothes. Keep home clean. When we keep our home clean, we are very safe from this disease. So let's move on to the next slide. So finally, this is my references. You can look at these references. And okay, that's it.